In just below the clock tower of the Markhams Building, which is one of the oldest buildings in central Johannesburg. Absolutely phenomenal space. Was built in 1897, or finished in 1897, started in 1896, as the whispers of the Jameson raid were going around the city. From that point on, it was the center of shopping for wealthy Johannesburg citizens for about 70, 80 years, until the 1970s, 80s. But it's a wonderful, wonderful building, and we're very privileged to be standing where we are right now. I was standing at the top of the Carlton Centre about 2-3 years ago. And before that, I'd driven the streets and I'd seen the building, and it always stood out for me, and I always wondered what the history behind it was. And then I went to the top of the Carlton Centre and I looked down and I saw it again, hiding behind all these other buildings that were so much bigger than it. And then when I started looking into it, I found out that this, when it was built, was the tallest building in Johannesburg. And I thought, wow, you know, if the city has grown that much in a relatively short space of time, you know, we live in a fantastic place. And then I started digging deeper, and I found all sorts of interesting things about the building. And it's just become part of me now. It's become, you know, whenever I come to the city, I'll always drive past it again just to feel the buzz of being near it. When I was doing my research, I found out that it was copied from a number of buildings in Europe. There was a town hall somewhere in England, and then there was a facade of the building in I think it was the Louvre. And literally, I think it was the owner, H.W. Markham, decided he wanted to have a grand, tall building so he could sell more product. And he built this phenomenal building and a facade that stood out and a clock tower on top. And it became a landmark in the city. If you arrived on the train at Elof Street, the first sight you'd see as you left was the Markhams Tower. It changed the face of retail Johannesburg. If you look at the way the streets were aligned, if you look at the old Monopoly board, Elof Street was always the most expensive street that we wanted to own. And this building is one of the reasons why that was. You had the rich people that lived in the eastern quarter of the city walking to Market Square along this route, and you had the people leaving the train station that walked down Elof Street and then along Pritchard Street. So this really centered the value of Elof and Pritchard Street for about 70, 80 years. Fantastic building. I want people to be interested. I don't see how they can't be if they walk past this building. You've got all these relatively standard buildings around it, and then when you come past it, you see something magical. You see something that no person in Joburg will remember. I mean, 110, quite a few years ago, it's a whole generation past, and you think of the lifestyles and the way people lived back in those days, and it hopefully will spark some interest and spark some excitement when people come past.